Hi, mystery writers. This is Write a Killer Mystery. I'm Zara Altair, and today we're going to talk about some first-time writer mistakes to avoid so readers love your story. As always, think of your reader when you're writing, and that'll help smooth out your story and avoid some of these mistakes. But let's talk about the the 5 big ones that happen with beginning novel writers, because the learning curve of a first novel is really steep. There's just so much. It's a big project, and taking your story from idea to a finished manuscript, it takes fortitude, it takes commitment to writing, and it takes tuning into your imagination, and you put all those things together to create your manuscript. You have so many things to learn and so much to internalize as you write. So you've got background research and character development and scene and chapter sequence and story beats and story structure, and there's just so much that surrounds your writing, and sometimes it's easy to get lost in all of that stuff instead of focusing on your story. So in spite of all the planning and preparation, actual story writing is a new process. And in the midst of the process, it's easy to derail your story. So let's look at some of the common mistakes new writers make, and then, more importantly, let's look at some ways to fix those mistakes. So one of the first ones is too many characters. It's really fun making up this whole world and all the people in it, but your story needs to hit your reader in the clearest possible way, and movie extra characters can feel like adding color and dimension to your story. And particularly in a mystery, your focus needs to be on your sleuth and the suspects. And so you can check your cast of characters by asking these questions. These, as you're going through your story and you're looking at all your questions, here's how you can evaluate whether they need to be there or not. So, does the character contribute to the storyline, and how? Does the character contribute to the protagonist's development, and how? And will the story suffer if I eliminate this character? Essentially, if the answer is no to any of those questions, take the character out. You don't need it. You don't need it. You want to get rid of that character, kill the character. I don't mean kill them in the story. I mean just take them out of your story. Sometimes you can sort of meld two characters together to make them one. But essentially, you want to keep the focus on your story, not clutter up the story with characters, however colorful they may be, because too many characters is going to confuse your reader, and you don't want your reader confused. You want your reader to just be in that story and keep reading. If you like a character and you get no answer, save that character. Don't just completely toss them. Save them in a folder and use them in a different story. Okay, and then there's what I call the Flawfl Protagonist. So we all have shortcomings, and you give your protagonist flaws to make them believable and relatable to your readers. And your sleuth has positive attributes that make him the best person to solve the crime. And along the way, you want to gain empathy from your readers by giving her some weaknesses, but not too many. Refrain from making your hero one long sob story. So cancer is okay, overcoming an addiction is okay, a brutal childhood is okay, but all of them in one character alienates your reader with an unrealistic protagonist. So as I said, everybody has flaws. You want to give your main character flaws, but choose one significant one, maybe two, one for sure, but not too many. Otherwise, there's just too much. I don't know. I guess I call it side story of your sleuth. Instead of being focused on solving the crime, your sleuth is battling all these weaknesses. So you don't want to get sidetracked there. So keep your character real. Give them one or two big weaknesses and then stop. Focus on their strengths as a sleuth. And then the opposite of that is the absolutely perfect protagonist. I mean, you want your hero to be good at solving crime, so you pour on the talents, and that's just part of how your sleuth solves the crimes. But a character without flaws is just as unbelievable as a character with too many flaws. So if your sleuth runs marathons and has great deductive powers and charms the ladies and runs a self-help group, and you may feel as though you've created this multi-dimensional character by giving them all these talents, but they're too perfect and your reader won't relate. So, and besides that, you've created pretty much a flat character. There's no room for growth, and readers enjoy characters who make mistakes and learn lessons and overcome obstacles. So once again, on the other side, keep your character real. Too much goodness is too much. Okay, then there's what I call word genius writing, and this happens with a certain strand of beginning writers. They want to show how smart they are, and they want their readers to understand that they just know all these words. But storytelling is about clear and simple language that keeps your reader reading. So you may want to fancy up your prose by using a thesaurus for alternate word choices, but you don't need to sound smart. Readers don't even care how smart you are. Just tell the story. So don't send your readers to a dictionary in order to understand what you say. At any time you stop your reader, you're in big trouble. And words, unfamiliar words, are going to stop them. And they want a good story, not a vocabulary lesson. So everything that you learned about essay writing and all of that, you don't need it in your storytelling. If you use a thesaurus to change out words, you may also end up using a word incorrectly because the thesaurus says, oh, this is the same as that. But in reality, there may be connotations to that word that you're not familiar with. Just don't do it. That's my advice. Don't do it. If you don't know the word, don't use it, because your readers aren't going to know it either. So if your writing is so complicated your reader can't follow the story, you've undermined the purpose of the story for your reader. They want a story they can understand. Okay, so another one is also about jazzing up your story too much, and I call this descriptive dialogue tags. And those are things like exclaimed or interjected or cried aloud. Just focus on said. School teachers and essay professors may have encouraged you to vary your wording, but with dialogue tags, said. That's all you need, because in their mind, readers just skip over said and go on with your story. But so your dialogue tags need to be unobtrusive. If somebody asks a question, you can use ask instead of said, but that's about as far as it goes. What you want to do is use character actions and the words they say in that dialogue to convey their emotions. You want the dialogue to read smoothly as though the characters are speaking to each other. Um, when you use those fancy words as dialogue tags, you take your reader out of the dialogue and out of the story, and um, you've defeated your purpose of getting them to turn the page. Readers, as I said, skip said in their head as they're reading. So keep dialogues really super simple and keep your reader in the story. Okay, the fifth one is a long opening narrative, and this is a big one for beginning writers because, as I talked about at the beginning, you've done all this work, you've got backstory for your characters, and you've created this whole story world, and you want to tell your reader all about it. But you don't want a big info dump at the beginning, because when you do all that, your story hasn't started yet. When you try to tell everything at the beginning, you haven't brought your reader into the story, and they don't care. They don't care about the story world. They don't care about the backstory because they have no relationship to your actual characters and what they're doing. So start with a small problem for your protagonist to overcome. Just plunge your reader, boom, bang, right into the story. It's just the best way to get your story started and to get your reader into your story. Because if they read a whole story about what happened to Fred before the story started, they aren't in the story yet. That chapter, just take it away, okay? A giant info dump won't make your reader care, and all the work you put into creating backstory and building your story world is important to you. And it does build depth in your story, but do that by adding elements of your backstory and your world piece by piece as the story progresses. So you want to focus on the story and bring those in when you need them, not all at once at the beginning. So give your reader the opportunity to explore the world and your character as your story builds. So conquer these 5 beginning writer mistakes, and you're going to be well on your way to writing a great first story. When you avoid these writing mistakes, your story will shine with engaging characters that matter, provide a smooth read for your readers so they aren't stopping to look up words, and essentially you're going to keep your reader in the story. And as you continue writing, you'll recognize these story stoppers as soon as they arrive, and you'll avoid them. It just takes practice, just like anything else. So skip them, give your reader a good read, and happy writing. All right, thank you so much. I hope this helps. And I want to thank you for being here. And please subscribe because I do these every week and with tips for mystery writers. And in the meantime, write a killer mystery.